Okay. So let me get the sign-in link. Throw that in chat. Please sign in if you are attending. And then I believe that we are set for roll call when you are, Holly.
Sure, this is Holly. I will go ahead and go through roll call, and I'll try to keep an eye on the chat too if people respond in there. All right, representing CCI, either Scott, Tina, Julie, or Allison.
Allison's here.
Thank you. Representing CML, Jacqueline. Representing the accessibility community, Cheryl. I know that Cheryl is here. Representing the at-large, Chad Weber.
I am here.
Thank you, Chad. Representing BESP, Tim.
Good morning, I'm present.
Thank you. Also representing BESP, Sean with Entrado.
Hi, present.
Representing Lumen, Jeff.
Present.
Thank you. Representing ILEX, and I believe that Darla was just added at the last meeting, so representing NNTC, Darla. I believe that Darla somebody motioned for her to have that position. I don't know if there was any follow-up on.
It looks
whether
like she's a participant. Oh,
Darla, I see you in the chat.
Last time.
Darla, I do see you in the chat. Thank you. Representing T-Mobile, Jenny.
Good morning, I'm here.
Thank you. Representing Viero, Ryan or Mary.
Present.
Thank you. Representing Cinch, Cindy, Tina, or Josh.
Cindy's here.
Thank you. Representing Bandwidth, Jay or Erica.
Erica's here.
Thank you, Erica. Gunnison County, Jody.
I'm here.
Morgan County, Danette.
Good morning, I'm here.
Grand Junction, Cindy.
Good morning, I'm here.
Representing Larimer, Kimberly, Valerie, or Tracy.
Tracy's here for Kimberly.
Thank you. Representing AdCom, Jackie or Ron.
This is Jackie, I'm here.
Representing Eagle, Beth. Okay, I do not see Beth. Representing Sterling, Valicia, or Paula. Beth is in the chat, but can't get off mute. All right, so Beth, I've got you. No representation for Sterling, it looks like. Representing Jeffco, Jeff.
Jeff Irvin here on Zoom.
Representing Delta, Karina. Okay, I don't see representation for Delta. Representing Douglas, Deanie or Shannon.
Deanie's here in the room.
Thank you. Representing Denver, Andrew or Jody.
Andrew and Jody are both in the room.
Representing Jeffcom, Michael or Kevin.
Michael Brewer here.
Thank you. Aurora, Tina or Scott.
Morning, Scott Newman's here.
Thank you. Arapahoe County, Kathy.
Good morning, Kathy is in the room.
Thank you. Metza, Matt or Alex? Nice.
Good morning, Matt here.
Garfield, Carl or Tom?
Carl's in the room.
And Boulder, Patty or Christine?
Patty's on the line.
Perfect, thank you. We have 96% attendance with a majority and a super majority. So I will turn it back over to Jennifer.
This is Jennifer. Thank you, Holly. I'm going to ask everyone in the room to go around and do introductions. If you have a little microphone in front of you, it's very directional, so make sure it's facing you, and then you can push the little button at the bottom that says push, and when it turns green, you can speak. But Jennifer Kirkland's in the room.
Jody Slate is in the room.
Andrew Dameron, Denver 911. Joe Branson, PUC.
Carl Simpson, El Paso Teller.
Diva Miranda Jones, Carbine.
Nick Brown, Carbine.
Jackie Marie Louise, 911 Solutions.
Jeannie Shen, Douglas County.
Joe Benkert.
Hang tight, we're working on a
Mandy
microphone.
Solsheimer, Central Square. Kathy Rayleigh, Arapahoe County.
Charles Stevens, Garfield County Emergency Communications Authority.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Next up, we have our approval of July minutes. Hopefully, everybody got a chance to review them, but I will go through real quick and show them on the screen so that you can see them really quickly. Maybe. Hold on, I got to get to the right screen here. There we go. I will scroll slowly through. Standing report. So I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes as written. There aren't any changes. Great. I have a motion from Cheryl and a second from Kathy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. Motion carries. And next up, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our presenter. We have Jacqueline Toomey here from Access Sleep, and she is going to present to us on sleep for first responders. So thank you very much for being here, Jacqueline.
Thanks for having me, Jennifer. Good morning. It is my passion and purpose in life to support your sleep. So I want to make the most out of our time together, as well as for our friends online. If you have any questions throughout, please, is somebody able to monitor the chat and be their voice? Okay, great. I would love to just start with perhaps what interests you in what you would like to learn today. We have a short, limited amount of time together, but I want to make it personal because I could just share my PowerPoint and that would be fine, but it would probably be more impactful if we could tailor it to your own personal questions about sleep. For example, how do I fall asleep faster? Or how do I return to sleep if I wake up in the middle of the night? Or how do I feel energy in the day, right? What interests you? So let's just go around the room and tell me one thing you would like to learn today. Andrew. Night shift. Okay. And can you also remind me of your name as you go around? Jody. How to turn the brain off. Anyone else have that, actually? The monkey mind jumping from branch to branch? Yeah? Many of us relevant, yeah? Fall asleep fast. So that's called your sleep latency. So we'll increase our sleep latency. Perfect. Ooh, okay. Supplements. Good or bad? Okay. Ooh, longer duration of sleep.
I'm Diva, and I would like to learn how, and actually I think you mentioned it, when you have interrupted sleep, like how to go back to sleep.
Okay. Return to sleep.
Yep.
Great name, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm Nick. Jody got mine. Turning the brain off.
Turn the brain off. I'm just going to add an X there.
I'm Jackie, and I would like, I'm with Jennifer. I'd like to be able to sleep around 11 instead of 1. Great.
So,
Go to sleep earlier.
okay, so sync your circadian rhythm. So I'm just going to put CR. Stay asleep. Anyone else notice as we age that our sleep patterns have changed? Anyone? Not only from your profession, but just age in general, yeah. So stay asleep. All right. Good quality. And then I'm going to put the sleep stages, because not all sleep is the same. Ooh, learn how to get more bang for your buck. Yeah, isn't that the magic thing we would all love? There are solutions to that. So I'm going to put more bang for your buck. Great. Okay, so I would actually put maybe optimizing your circadian rhythm. And we could also add resonated with this. Oh, sleep procrastination. Is it so instead of procrastination, maybe we put prioritization. Sleep. Okay. Return to sleep right here. Okay, and our friends online.
There we go. Okay, so online we have, how can someone who works graveyard optimize sleep during the day?
Okay. Fifth, I'm going to add that. Good.
We had another vote for how to fall asleep after waking up in the middle of the night.
Okay.
Effects of alcohol on quality sleep.
Great one. Alcohol.
How to train newbies to get used to night shifts faster.
Okay.
The impact of exercise and how long before sleep should you not exercise.
Okay. So I'm going to put circadian rhythm and behavior here.
Okay. Dependency on sleep aids.
Okay, supplements and sleep aids.
We had another vote for maximizing your sleep in a short amount of time.
Okay.
Jeff wants to know if you should get up after the first alarm and not snooze it.
Okay.
Sleep position, does sleep position matter?
Position.
And we had another vote for shutting off the brain.
Great. Off the brain. All right, excellent. So, is that all of them? Did we get everybody? Anyone want to add? Change their vote? No? All right, so as we can see, sleep affects us in many different ways. And we would probably need a whole day together and do my full day workshop to cover all of the content, which in my full day workshop, I actually do cover all of this. As I've found working in 18 states and 3 Canadian provinces, I've taught over 5,000 first responders, including communications, that all of this is recurring across the country and in Canada. And in my full-length course, I address all of it. But today, the most common ones I will touch on more heavily. And I'm also going to make myself available if anybody wishes to reach out to me. I'm happy to volunteer my time to have a conversation with anybody if you want to have something in confidentiality, because something else about sleep is that it's highly personal. You know, what keeps us up at night is usually something very personal. So I'm happy to be someone that can speak to you in confidentiality and support you. All right, so we've learned your learning objectives today, and we will, I just shared a little bit about my program. It was started in 2016, actually, after a very serious tragedy in my husband's job. He's a Denver firefighter, now Denver lieutenant, and he sadly lost his very first senior guy on the job to suicide. And that struck a deep chord in me, and I realized, wow, this, amazing career that my husband is so passionate about, all of a sudden I'm seeing somebody that mentored him, now I'm seeing my husband be a pallbearer for this man who he respected so dearly. And that's when I decided, okay, what can I do to make a difference to support first responders, not just firefighters? And that's why I named my program First Responder Sleep Recovery, because as I started to do the research, I found that suicide, amongst other health issues, are far greater in the first responder community, as I'm sure you're all aware of. So it was a journey, but as I mentioned, we've now taught nationally, and we work with departments from fire, police, communications, EMS, across the United States and Canada. But it is truly our mission and purpose to be of service for the greater good, because when we empower our first responders, they can show up and perform better and also have good health and a good cognitive function, all the things that we need for vitality on shift and off shift. So it is my goal in life to just be of support to first responders. And I've been fortunate enough to train with some of the leading experts in the world in neuroscience and sleep, and some ancient practices that have had a revival and are now validated by modern neuroscience that support us to be able to fall asleep. And in my full-length class, I actually guide you through specific practices, body and breath practices, and cognitive practices to help you turn it off. And maybe if we have time, I could even do like a mini 5-minute sample at the end of today, if you're interested, that is. So we went over y'all's objectives. But now let's talk about the course objectives. And I believe that the first responder community is action-oriented. So let me make sure this isn't blocking. Can people online see the full screen, or should I move this? Awesome. Okay, super. So I believe that first responders are action-oriented, and so I created the objective in the acronym ACT. A is for awareness. What are the leading causes of first responder death today? You tell me. Name the top 3. Sadly, suicide and cancer and cardiac. What if I was to tell you that there is a growing body of evidence that chronic sleep deprivation over a course of a career is directly linked to the leading causes of first responder death today. Okay. What kind of culture do we live in? How do we regard our sleep? Yep, Andrew said it. Have anyone else say it or heard it? I'll sleep when I'm dead. Right? That is the culture we live in. Or, we say, just need one more cup of coffee and I'll power through. And we wear our sleep deprivation like a badge of honor, right? That how much can we power through? But the truth is that our bodies are biologically designed to be asleep for 1/3 of our lives. There's a scientist out there, you may have heard of him, his name is Dr. Matt Walker. He says in his book, we are, designed to be asleep for 1/3 of our lives, and that means that either Mother Nature made a major flaw in evolution, or sleep might be one of the most critically important aspects of our 24-hour period for our survival. And the latter argument he makes is pretty strong, as well as other leading professionals in the sleep science community. So it is my mission to address and take on this culture of I'll sleep when I'm dead. Because we now know that a sleep-deprived individual is actually more likely to die by suicide than a clinically depressed individual. And I'll share research on that later. And that brings me to T for tools. Everything in this program is evidence-based, meaning that it has been studied for its efficacy. So I'm not just saying, oh, this is just something I made up and I taught my firefighter husband and it worked for him, and who knows if it really works. No, all of the strategies that I'm trained in have been clinically validated. And importantly, I ask for feedback of all the first responders who take my class after they've been practicing some of these techniques. And I can tell you that those who commit to them have life-changing results. And those are their actual words. This practice has been life-changing for me. So I'm really solutions-focused. I want to give you practices that truly make a difference so that you can fall asleep faster, return to sleep, and know how to work with the mind so that the mind isn't taking over the show, right? You're in control to be able to fall asleep when you need to, and it's a superpower. So before we get into the tools, though, we need to have a little conversation. You tell me, just anything. What is sleep? Oh, good, I hear recharging, reboot, recovery. Good. True or false? Does the brain shut down during sleep? False. The brain is highly active, and certain phases of sleep, your brain can actually be more active in terms of brainwave activity than in your waking state, which indicates there are really important things happening while we're asleep. The brain is doing something. And scientists have actually learned of a new system in the brain called the glymphatic system. Anyone hear of that? Like lymphatic with a G. Okay, this is your body's natural detoxification process, and it happens while you're in deep sleep. Studies show that if your body does not have adequate time in those deep sleep stages, and the glymphatic system doesn't have time to go to work because it's a nocturnal animal, it activates at night while you're asleep, that there is an associated risk for Alzheimer's and dementia later in life. So the glymphatic system, which works with the cerebral spinal fluid in the body, flushing out channels of the brain, literally removes a toxic protein that builds up called beta amyloid. It accumulates during the day. And if it's not removed, that's the associated risk for Alzheimer's and dementia. So sleep literally cleanses you from the inside out. So how does our body know when to wake and when to sleep? Outside of our shift work. The good thing is the body and the brain is resilient and can be healed. It can get off pattern, but it can actually be healed. What was that? It doesn't. That's interesting because shift work will, like I said, our bodies are programmable. If we start altering our natural circadian rhythm, it's trainable. So all of a sudden, your body is going off its natural rhythm, and then there's some level of confusion. The body's like, wait, am I on shift? Am I not? What do I do? And so we need to take control over certain environmental factors and practices such as routine, diet, and even cognitive and breath practices to sync our body into its circadian rhythm. Or for those who are working night shift, you can capitalize on these practices to make you more functional and be awake at night and sleep better in the day. So this is what controls our sleep. What is it? Good. Circadian rhythm. If you break down the word circadian in Latin, circa means around, approximately, dia, day. So our circadian rhythm, our body actually releases hormones in a 24-hour period. But to its namesake, circa, it's not perfectly 24 hours. It's approximately. So actually, what is the one thing in our environment that controls our circadian rhythm? Excellent. Sunlight. So our body's internal clock is going, but the moment that we have sunlight, it's like a wind-up clock. Okay, now it's going to start ticking and releasing its hormones in this you think of like a roller coaster, like this undulating pattern of different hormones that ebb and flow through your day. And you just named it, what controls our circadian rhythm. In order to really know how to fix any machine, you need to know how it works. So I'm going to delve and share a little deeper with the circadian rhythm so you can know how your hormones work, so you can optimize them. So we know the sunlight is critical for our wake state, but it's also critical for our sleep state, and this is why. So the sunlight emits what's called blue spectrum light. And blue light, you may have heard in recent years with the rise of technology and social media. What have you guys heard about blue light? Correct. It prevents you from falling asleep. And I just finished leading a 6-day retreat, our program in partnership with Kripalu Yoga Center on the East Coast. We sponsored a group of 15 first responders to come and study with us for 6 days and really heal their sleep. One of the girls, and we recommended, don't use your technology during this week. We challenge you. Of course, you can call your family and say goodnight if you need to, but try not to be on your screens. And actually she's a dispatcher from Las Vegas PD. She was like, I guess I was my own guinea pig last night because we learned about all this blue light stuff, and then I wanted to talk to my husband and family, but then we wanted a FaceTime, and I had this blue screen in front of me all night, and it was the only night the whole week, she said. She's like, I couldn't sleep. I was up for so long after that. She's like, that's a true testament to what the science says. So this is what the science tells us. The blue spectrum light from the sun, it sends a signal through special ganglionic cells in our eyes directly to the control center of the brain. It's a cluster of cells in your hypothalamus called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. You'll need that for your test later. Okay, just kidding. But this is like the command center. This is like a communication center, okay? This is going to tell everything in the body what to do, okay? From here, the SCN, it's like an internal alarm clock. It receives the signal, the call was made. Okay, now we need to dispatch our resources. Light is present, what does the body need to do? It ultimately signals two little baby glands, size of like a bean. These two glands situated above our kidneys, our adrenal glands, are signaled to secrete a glucocorticoid hormone that wakes you up. So message is sent to the adrenals, and now we have, I'm sure you've heard of it, cortisol. You've heard of this name, yeah? This term, okay? So we just named its primary function is to be awake. But what else have you heard about cortisol? Right, it's a stress hormone. And what is the purpose of stress? Is it for nothing? Is it good? Is it bad? Say it again. Fight or flight. And what does fight or flight help us achieve? Good. Motion, survival, danger. Yes. Okay. Ultimately, our body has evolved to help us survive all circumstances. So if you are, in the woods, and actually, so I live up in the mountains west of Denver, and a couple weeks ago, I was walking my dog on our road. We live high in the mountains. There's no street lamps. We're on a dirt road. We're off the grid. I'm walking my dog down our dirt road using my phone just to light the path a little bit. And all of a sudden, I feel like my senses go up, and I can't see anything. We're literally in the woods. I'm by myself. I just feel something. My senses are up. Like, what is this? I felt like something was watching me. So I start making noise. I probably seem like a crazy person, but I'm like, hey, like just making noise, walking down our woods. And we get inside. I feed my dog her dinner. And then I hear, and my husband, of course, is on shift, so I'm home alone. I hear all of a sudden a bang. And I'm like, what was that? Something on my deck? And I open the door, and this is within minutes of me just walking in. I open the front door. I see my trash can is on its side, and then right behind it, I see this bear looking right at me, and I'm looking at him, and I don't know who was more surprised, but the point is that our body has something called neuroception. It is our internal system that is always perceiving whether we are safe or not safe. Ever feel that like little feeling in your stomach telling you something, right? So our bodies are incredible for our own survival. And it sends signals. I did feel more alert and awake. My body was preparing for that fight or flight response. So ultimately, cortisol, its secondary function is part of the fight or flight response. In terms of the autonomic nervous system, the name for fight or flight is called the sympathetic branch of the autonomic nervous system. But for the sake of naming its purpose, I'm going to write acute survival. And in that moment where literally there was a bear on the street with me, probably, and he was pretty young too, which tells me actually that Mama Bear was probably the one watching me, right? Even scarier. I respect for the Mama Bears, I'm staying away. I'll keep my distance. We don't need our sleep hormone to survive an acute moment, right? We need cortisol. It helps us. But in our society, you may have heard like, oh, cortisol, it makes you fat, belly weight, it's associated with stress, we need to get rid of it. No, I'm here to bust that myth. No, you don't need to get rid of cortisol. In fact, you need to optimize the timing your cortisol is released. So if you have a hard time falling asleep or sleep procrastination, getting sunlight in the morning will help peak. Your cortisol level should peak an hour or so after waking. And then by evening, like a roller coaster, they taper off and the inverse hormone starts to rise. Okay? To answer the question about how do we optimize for shift workers, graveyard, one thing that I recommend is you can find it on Amazon. I don't have any affiliate, or you could Google it or whatever shopping platform you use. You can buy, they're called, you may have heard of this disorder, seasonal affective disorder. They sell lamps that are around 10,000 lux or 10,000 lumens. And what you can do is just buy a couple, they look like the size of an iPad when you're getting ready, brushing your teeth for your night shift. Use that because it's going to trigger this process. Okay? If you can't have sunlight because you're working grave shift, you would use that. Or like when I teach in the Pacific Northwest, in the Seattle area, I'll be out there in a couple of weeks teaching. I recommend to them too, if it's raining, cloudy, you don't have a lot of sun, you need light exposure early in the morning. And second tip on that, consistency. So it's like a program. Every time you get sunlight at the same time every morning, it helps program your system. I usually like to give a shout out to Dr. Andrew Huberman. He's a Stanford neurobiologist, and he is huge on sunlight exposure. And every morning, go outside if you can and get a walk in the sunlight, no sunglasses. You need the ganglionic cells in your eyes to be able to communicate. If it's blocking the blue light, it's not going to give you that good wake up feeling in the morning. So I don't wear sunglasses for that purpose in the morning. If it's super bright in the middle of the day, fine, but in the early morning, I just get sunlight and actually look towards the sun, not staring at the sun, but getting that sunlight is so good for you. And so here's why also it's important, because if we get good wake hormones in the morning, by evening they taper off. And then here's the inverse. So when the sun goes down and it's dark out, those same cells recognize, oh, something is changing. My body's biology needs to adjust. So ultimately, there's a gland in your brain, the only singular gland in our bihemispheric brain, called the pineal gland. You've heard of it? Oh, maybe so. Yes. What is your primary sleep hormone? That's the precursor to it. Good. Say it again. So when it is dark out, like just think about it. If you were to go sit in a dark, cold room and just hang out there for a while, you'll eventually start to yawn because darkness is signaling this hormone release. It's that simple. So melatonin is the primary sleep hormone. Melatonin and cortisol, think of it, their relationship like a teeter-totter on a playground. When one is up, the other is down. Vice versa, when the other's up, the other's down. Or like the sun and the moon. They're both always coexisting together, but one is dominant, the other is not, okay? So when cortisol is up, melatonin is down. So at nighttime, so long as there's darkness, our melatonin levels will rise. But I'll address the question on taking supplemental melatonin because it should be used with caution. I'll give you the pros and cons, and then you make your own decision. So the primary function of melatonin is not just sleep, but specifically sleep timing. Okay? Anybody ever take a melatonin pill and you conk out, but in the morning you don't necessarily feel like refreshed and maybe even groggy or like you didn't get good quality sleep? Yeah. I know I've experimented on all the things, and I can admit I've definitely experienced that. Let's distinguish that sleep timing is different than sleep quality. Might fall asleep, but it doesn't necessarily mean staying in deep quality sleep, and we'll talk about the sleep stages shortly. But this is some really fascinating and exciting news about melatonin, the hormone. Scientists have recently discovered that melatonin plays a key role in your body's natural defense against cancer. So its secondary function is, I'm going to write, long-term survival. So we see this sympathetic branch, cortisol, fight or flight, acute survival. And we see here in the branch called the rest and digest, called the parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest, long-term survival. So certain things that happen with your fight or flight is priming your body for that action. So your body's literally prepared for movement if you're laying in bed staring at a screen, okay? Just being mindful of light exposure at night, whenever your shift is, can make a huge difference on balancing your hormones. Okay. Let me think about anything else I want to add to this. Oh, that taking the melatonin. Yes, there's research that says it might support the time you fall asleep, but it compromises the deep quality sleep you get. So if you're changing time zones, if you're going to vacation in Australia or even the East Coast, maybe once or twice might help you adapt to the new hours of the day, maybe, but it's going to cause what's called fragmented sleep. In other words, tossing and turning through the night. So use caution with melatonin. I did a training recently with someone else named Jackie, and she was just about 8 weeks pregnant, and she was telling me that she actually was trying with her partner to get pregnant for a long time, and they couldn't. And then she came across one random article that said taking exogenous melatonin in a pill affects your sex hormones. And so she stopped. And very shortly thereafter, within that following month, she got pregnant because she stopped taking melatonin. And Stanford neurobiologist Andrew Huberman says in his research that children who are given melatonin, it'll delay the onset of their puberty. So I'll give you one of my solutions for a natural sleep aid. And recently, the first responders in my classes have been saying, why don't you make this a product and sell it? Because we would buy it. But I'll tell you the ingredients that you can buy and then enjoy the benefits of it. I'm just going to turn this around here. I call it Jacqueline's sleep mocktail. So you just do like you could do two cups of water, but just 1 cup of water, 300 up to 500 milligrams of magnesium, and 1 to 2 tablespoons of organic tart cherry juice. And I'm not talking about the ocean spray, nothing against ocean spray other than all the sugar that's in that, but not like a cheap cherry juice, like the concentrated, like you got to go to Whole Foods or order it online, or Vitamin Cottage. It's concentrated. It's like as thick as syrup. You just need 1 or 2 spoons of it. Mix it with water and a spoon of magnesium, or if you're measuring it, 300 to 500 milligrams. If you're active, magnesium is a mineral that's used in over 300 actions in the body. And it's estimated up to 70% of Americans are deficient in magnesium. Twitchy legs or insomnia are sometimes a magnesium deficiency. So just after one night, you might notice your sleep is better. Yeah. Yes, there are many different kinds of magnesium. You can take magnesium carbonate. There's a lot of different kinds. There's a company that gives, and I'm not profiting off of this recommendation, but there's a company called Pure Essence Labs, and we have a discount code that they offer first responders. It's either Sleep Recovery 15 or Sleep Recovery 20, or just Sleep Recovery. Just try one of those and see if you get a discount. I'll send you the link too, and but they give you like a little discount. But they have a blend that has cofactors that helps the bioavailability of the magnesium, so you're absorbing it and utilizing it. But you'll notice right away that actually that same Las Vegas dispatcher told me, she's like, ever since I'd taken your class, because she took it originally before going to the retreat when I was in Las Vegas, she was like, her husband's a police officer too. She's like, I've been taking it every night and my sleep has changed. So it really works. And tart cherry juice is a naturally occurring form of melatonin. So food is synthesized a little bit differently than, just a hormone in a pill, right? And you wouldn't probably, I hope, if King Soopers or any store you go to has a bottle of estrogen or a bottle of testosterone or a bottle of progesterone, hopefully you won't just go by and take a couple pills, right? That's the equivalent of if we were to just take a few pills of melatonin. It's an actual hormone. Now, those are some of the cons. I'll name one more. In research that was done, they actually took like 30 bottles of melatonin just off the shelves, and they tested every single tablet. Not one in any of the bottles reflected the dosage that was on the label. And MIT did research on the actual dosage of melatonin for great sleep. And mind you, most melatonin over the counter, well, we know that we can't really trust it because it's not regulated, but most claim to be between 1 milligram to 5 milligrams. I've even seen at the airport 10 milligrams of melatonin. But MIT found that the higher the dosage, actually the worse people's sleep got, the more fragmented sleep. They found less and less they had better sleep. And so they actually went less than the lowest dosage, and they found that for older adults, 0.3 milligrams of melatonin was the dose that gave them the best sleep. And what that tells me is maybe we shouldn't be just taking hormones. Maybe we should try to optimize our pineal gland's natural ability to produce its own hormone. And we know that if what did we name already, will cause the hormone to be produced? Yep, darkness. We just know darkness will help you. But if we are in a hypersympathetic state, in that fight or flight mode, our body is primed for action. So I have a whole regimen of practices that you can do to switch from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic, okay? You guys want to try one? Yeah? Great. I'm not going to put you to sleep altogether, but I want you to feel a shift, okay? So all you need to do is listen to me. I'm not going to be demonstrating, but I will use a chair to sit down. And I know that our friends online are with us too, so I invite you guys to take a comfortable seat if you want to practice. And make sure that your feet are both evenly on the ground. Can we turn the lights off just for this? And maybe it'll be an audible exercise for everybody online if you can't see. But the lights, as we know, help us to relax. So you can keep your eyes open, or if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes. Notice your feet flat on the ground. Notice your sits bones in your chair. And notice your shoulders directly above the hips. Notice the head. Notice the hands. Notice if most of your attention is in the swirling of thoughts, and if it is, that's totally okay. It's very normal for us to be living from the neck up, but the invitation here is to simply turn attention into the body. So perhaps take a hand on the low belly, and just notice if there's any movement in the belly area as you breathe in and out. You might notice the belly lifts a little on your inhalation. And the navel drops to the spine on your exhalation. Get curious and bring all of your attention right to the navel area. Softening the face muscles and relaxing the shoulders. Let the sits bones become heavy. Keep breathing and focusing, maybe even mentally repeating, I'm breathing in, I am breathing out. Not judging where the breath is or how deep it is. I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. Now lower your hand down to your lap. And we're going to tense and release muscles. So like you're holding onto a lemon in the palm of the hand, squeeze this imaginary lemon, just squeeze your hand into a tight fist and flex the entire right arm, like you're lifting a weight or just squeezing as hard as you can. Tighten and hold that arm muscle as tight as you possibly can. Really feel it flex. You might even feel a little quiver. Hold, hold, tighten even more, hold. Exhale, release the arm muscle. Breathe normally. Feel the effect of the arm release and become soft. Now, bring attention to your left arm and make a tight fist like you're squeezing a lemon or a tennis ball in that left hand, and bring all of your attention to the left arm. Notice if this arm is stronger or maybe less strong. Tighten and hold, squeeze until your arm quivers as much as you can. Tighten, hold, hold, squeeze even more, hold, 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 and exhale, release. You might even let out a sigh with the release of your shoulders, feeling the effect of the arms becoming soft and limp. This technique is called progressive muscular relaxation. Breathe normal into the belly. Maybe breathing a little deeper now. And open mouth exhalation with a gentle sigh. Just like that again. Twice more. Setting aside all mental activity and just being curious about the breath in the belly. Okay, this time squeezing both arms together, tense and hold, tighten, hold, squeezing those arm muscles, flexing, all of your attention in the arm muscles, hold, 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 hold. And when your body prompts you to, exhale, release. Breathe normally, perhaps bringing the shoulders up to the ears just once and then dropping them down. Letting go of all tension out of the shoulders. Do that once or twice more. Good. Now, this time we're going to do the whole body. So flex the legs, point or flex the toes, and the arms. Squeeze the belly muscles. Even like you're tasting a lemon with the face, squeeze the face, tighten everywhere. It might feel silly, that's okay. Squeeze, 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 hold everywhere, tighten, hold, 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 hold. Exhale, release. Take a deep belly breath in. Hold the breath momentarily. Notice what it feels like to be full of air. Hold the breath, hold. Hold it. Open mouth, sigh. As you exhale, imagine all tension leaving the body. Take another belly breath in. I want to hear everyone's exhalation like you're a group of Darth Vaders. Belly breath in. Hold the breath. Hold. Open mouth, sigh. Final time. Belly breath in. This time at the top of the breath, be as still as you possibly can. Still as a statue. Attention inward. Notice the sensation. Notice the sound. When your body prompts you to, exhale with a sigh. Breathe normally. Bring the palms of the hands together and rub them quickly until you feel heat. Imagining a little kindling of heat in the palms of the hands. Go even faster. Feel that heat. Spread up the arms, maybe up to the face. Gather that heat and gently bring it gently to the skin of the cheeks and covering the eyes. And take another belly breath in. This time, holding the breath at the top. And when you exhale, imagine all mental stress and tension leave the body, but only when your body prompts you to. When your body's ready to let go, let it all go. Another belly breath in, keeping that close connection of the palms on the face. Belly breath in. Hold the breath at the top. And this time, lengthen the exhalation. So bring your fingertips to the temples, a gentle temple massage. One direction, and the other. Breathing deep into the belly, keep your focus there. And then take your fingertips and just squeeze each of your shoulder muscles, the traps. Just give a little pinch and release to each side. And then lower the shoulders down and notice the effect. Taking one final breath as a group together, belly breath in. Open mouth, exhalation. Now let the breath be normal in and out the nostrils and just notice. When you feel ready, open your eyes. Someone turn on the light for us. Does anyone notice a difference in how they feel? What did you notice? A little bit more relaxed? Anything else? Little sleepy? Less stress? Yawning? Good. So those are all signs that we shifted our nervous system. So what we just did is we engaged our parasympathetic nervous system. So if you guys have the, will be our final little activity. I don't see my slides here. I don't want to just cruise through my presentation, but let me just put it here. Okay, I'm going out of order. Please forgive me. I know some people are very like, stick to your order. But you can see here the biological effect of being in fight or flight. Again, in an acute moment, it's okay. It helps our survival. It's good. We need to have our blood flowing and our breath to change and our wake hormones to help us survive a moment. However, if we are stuck there for too long, what will happen long term with some of these symptoms that you see in the sympathetic fight or flight? If our heart rate is elevated for 30 years, what could happen? Right, okay. I didn't put it on here, but we know that cortisol will increase our blood glucose because it makes our nutrients convert in a process called glucogenesis. It converts our nutrients into elevated glucose. Even if you have a low sugar diet, your body's like, I need glucose for energy. So cortisol will spike your glucose. And ultimately, if you have elevated glucose for too long, what would that cause? Right, okay. And too much cortisol for too long will actually shrink the brain, okay, causing problems in our cognitive function and long-term memory. But guess what? We just did an intervention, okay? That little practice that seemed maybe innocuous to you actually changed your hormones. And we shifted from sympathetic to parasympathetic, okay? And one powerful takeaway that you guys can have is that when you free up, when you lower your cortisol levels naturally, the precursor to cortisol, which is pregnenolone, is the same precursor to your sex hormones. So when you lower your cortisol levels naturally, you will actually help balance and replenish your testosterone. And not only a male hormone, but women, females need it as well. And when you go into the parasympathetic, you start to release neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, things that help you feel good and motivated. So small little practices like that are critically important to help balance your system after a sympathetic response. And great to do right before bed. In my full day workshop, we go through a lot more exercises and much more deeper states of relaxation. I just have a couple minutes left with you guys, but I'll go back to this slide here. We're going to touch really quickly on the sleep cycles because it's important. So here we see what our brainwave activity looks like while we're asleep. And somebody, was it you that mentioned REM sleep? Who was it? Dan, sorry. It usually takes about 90 minutes to complete a sleep cycle, and your sleep cycle repeats through the night. But what's interesting is that shift workers, their sleep cycles look very altered, and we won't get into as many delta, which is physiologic repair, or REM, which is cognitive repair. And things like alcohol, somebody mentioned online, alcohol actually blocks our REM sleep. So while it has a sedative effect, it is actually impairing one of the most important phases of our sleep, which helps the time where we're processing trauma, you know, which is the nature of 911 work. It's trauma. REM sleep is critical for healing post-traumatic stress symptoms. And alcohol prevents that time that we heal naturally. So there are alternative natural sleep aids. We already mentioned one that could be used in lieu of alcohol. Something cool about the long sleep recovery, you just learned a technique, but in my full-length sleep recovery practice, that's about 30 minutes. Research has shown that the primary technique that I teach in it actually induces delta brainwaves, which is your physiologic repair, bone, muscle, tissue, everything's healing in stage 4. That practice induces it at a faster pace. You drop into delta within 30 minutes, and in normal sleep, it would take about an hour. So there are things that can help you get more bang for your buck, and you can reach out if you want to learn more about my full-length class where I could teach those techniques more in depth. And here is just a brain scan of what normal, the first 4 stages of sleep are considered normal sleep, and then REM is unique. You could see the red represents activity. We have a lot of things happening in REM. So we want to have more delta and more REM. And now I'll go to this one research slide. So less than 7 hours of consecutive sleep, according to the U.S. Committee on Sleep Medicine and Research, is directly linked to cardiovascular disease and hypertension, obesity, diabetes, and impaired glucose tolerance, anxiety, depression, and alcohol use. And we can go back to our chart that you have printed out, the sympathetic nervous system. If we're in a heightened sympathetic response, long-term, we can have that direct connection to it. We don't have time to go through the why, but something I do want to touch on is a part of our brain that is highly active in trauma workers, 911 professionals, communications. This is very, your brain is in that sympathetic mode a lot, and it causes heightened amygdala activity, which can make a person become impulsive, reactionary, and emotional. And doing conscious relaxation practices can actually calm the amygdala. We don't want to be in that state for too long. We want to get our prefrontal cortex back online, which is your decision-making, your rational thinking, your logic and reason. And one of the primary practices I teach, it's been shown over 8 weeks to actually lower amygdala activity in the brain. And this is from Dr. Walker's book. The amygdala will increase in its activity by 60% if you sleep for only 4 hours in one night. And we know that in the military, individuals who have PTSD have larger amygdala size-wise in the brain. And so we want to make sure that our brains are balanced, and these practices really make a difference. I also like to look at environment, some things you could do. We already talked about light and dark. And in regards to nutrition and supplements, we've mentioned that melatonin might not be the best, but we gave an alternative. And in terms of routine, I would just suggest that consistency is everything. So creating like a time to unwind without screens and doing something mellow, like reading a book. There's also low blue spectrum amber lights that you can use to read books with at night or just have. You could also get like a red light from Target, and red light has the least disruptive effect. And just to come back to the question on graveyard workers, you know, I want you to think about the name, first of all. Have you ever heard the reason why it's called graveyard workers? It sends you to the grave faster, right? And that's true. Sleep-deprived individuals have shorter lifespans. That's the science. So I can't emphasize enough for overall health, whether it be cardiac, immune, metabolic function, emotional health. Sleep is that important. And if there's any way that I could support you beyond today, please reach out to me. Jennifer has my email address, and I could provide you my email and phone number as well. Let's just see here. Oh, and my one final thought is on communications, what makes you guys different? I think that sometimes frontliners are like communications are left out of the conversation a lot because you guys aren't seen like on the streets in emergencies, but you play a vital force in the outcome of the safety of our communities. But I've learned a little bit. I don't have, you know, firsthand experience about everything that you guys do, but in my work with first responders, I found that, you know, call takers and dispatchers could be responding to like 10 times more than one firefighter responding. Like they'll stay on one call for a long time, and you know the call center's shuffling through so much, and that's all being processed and taken in, and we have to release that somewhere. And there's something I call called completing the loop. So our bodies, we've talked a lot about our nervous system. Our body, when we go into fight or flight, which any 911 call could induce that, even though and the DSM-5, which is the clinical diagnostics for PTSD, recognizes that secondary trauma, such as, you know, communications professionals would experience on a daily basis, that is recognized and can constitute symptoms for post-traumatic stress. But to the completing the trauma loop, when you go into fight or flight, your body is physically changed. Your hormones are primed to fight or flight. And so it's actually something I recommend, like after a very serious call, that you do something with your body. Like even if it's for 10 or 15 seconds, jumping jacks, okay? Punch the air, do something to complete the loop, because otherwise your body is elevated. Am I still in danger? Am I still in danger? Complete the loop. So that could be various different things for various individuals, but I want you to start thinking about how to balance your nervous system naturally so that you can function well in the day and sleep well at night. That's my talk. I'm Jacqueline Toomey. Thanks for letting me be here with you today.
Thank you, Jacqueline. We had a request for your contact information. Do you have a slide with that you can throw up real quick?
Sure. Yeah, I think right in here. Oh yeah, I was going to give a little plug because one of our Denver 911 professionals left this testimony here, but it's right here is my contact info. If you go to my website, firstrespondersleeprecovery.com/contact, fill out that form and it'll have you join our mailing list, and you'll get a couple of automated emails with some of my articles. And I have asked Jennifer to print one of the articles for you guys to read if you would like to check that article out. And the other articles I've written for police and firefighters. It'll go to your inbox, but you might still find it interesting and relevant to the work you do with your shift work. And the emails that you're going to get, that's my direct email. So if you have any questions, you can respond directly to those automated mailers. But you'll only get like, I think 5, and then I only send out mailers when we have like a major event or a training like next June. If you want a member to learn these techniques to teach to your members, I'm doing like a 6-day training in southern Colorado at a hot springs. So, and we're on social media as well. So reach out anytime. I'm here for you guys, and take good care of yourself. You're, holding the world. So keep up your good work that you do. And I'll look forward to being in touch with you guys. Let me know if I could be of support to you in any way.
This is Jody. Jacqueline, I just want to thank you for being here. And I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I had the and the privilege of being able to attend her full-day course. It's amazing. And as long as you commit to the practices that she teaches, it has made a world of difference in my sleep. I didn't do any of the lighting because I'm on days, but I do use the blue light blocking glasses throughout my day. It makes a world of difference. And she has an app that she's got some recorded sessions on there. Some of them are 5 minutes, some of them are an hour, some of them are 20 minutes. It just depends. And I use it every single night. I just play one of those sessions, and I am out, and I stay asleep all night. So there's my little plug. I love your courses and everything. So
And this is Andrew. To add to that, last year we hosted Jacqueline for 3 days, and it was primarily folks from Denver, although we did have some 911 folks from around the area. We're going to be doing that annually, so we'll be pushing that information out. So we'll have slots, and you guys can come yourselves, send your frontline folks to come do the full 8-hour class. So.
And I'm so glad to.
This is Jennifer. Thank you, Andrew, and thank you so much, Jacqueline. We really appreciated having you here.
I'm glad you like the app too. And I can send those resources to you to send out to everybody, okay?
Perfect. So we will have obviously we'll have the recording on our YouTube, but we will also put Jacqueline's materials into the folder for today's meeting.
I think I'll adjust the PowerPoint since I didn't go over everything.
Okay.
And I'll send that to you when it's adjusted. Okay.
That sounds great. Thank you. All right. Jennifer, next we'll go into our standing reports. And as a reminder, we no longer read out the standing reports, but we do call on the committee chairs to highlight anything or give a chance for everyone to ask questions. So I'm going to just scroll through the PUC staff updates so you guys can see those there. Those are always available in the meeting materials folder for you to review ahead of time. We do have a lot of ongoing outage investigations that have been keeping Daryl busy. So that's on that dashboard there. The federal legislation, let me back up. The CPAP funds distribution, we did file comments. Thank you to the legislative committee that worked very hard on that. And thank you to the voting members who turned a vote around double quick so that we could get them filed by the deadline. And reply comments are due September 22nd if you are interested in applying or submitting reply comments. There's not a whole lot of activity going on the federal side yet. We've got surcharge numbers in there for you, and we do have a couple of deadlines coming up. So if you need to file a application over the threshold, then we recommend you get that done by October, which is, like tomorrow. Thank you to everyone who provided input to the State of 911 report. If you haven't responded to the authority boundary mapping project, please do that. And if anybody has any questions, I can answer those for you. Hearing none, I will turn it over to the BESP. Lumen, Jeff, or Tim, do you have anything to add?
Hi, this is Tim. Hang on a second here. Let me spin out of the way. Oops, my camera was blocked. Sorry about that. Just a few things. I know that we've been working with you all on rolling out the ECATs. So I know that many of you have been helping to provide some of the information. Hopefully that has been going well for you. I know that it's taken a little bit longer than I think we had all hoped, but it's my understanding that things are moving forward on that front. And if there's any questions, I'm sure Jeff can probably answer those. On the network improvement plan, I have not had a chance to reach out and set up some meetings with that, but I have been working internally on a number of different projects, and then including some overall statewide projects that we'll put forward for you all to discuss and comment on. So I do hope to get something set up for us to talk. I don't know that I can get that in maybe the next 2 weeks. So I'm hopeful that starting those in October is okay with folks. If you have some concerns or have some input that you'd like to provide, please do reach out to me on that. We are also working on another tariff amendment to continue the progress to I3 and fully utilizing the EZNet for all the different capabilities that it has. So that's in progress. I do also expect to be able to put some information together for folks, similar to how we did the ECATs, where we worked as a large group to look at language, costs, etc. So if unless folks have an objection to that, I'd like to replicate that process for the next amendment. And then finally, we do have some tariff changes, some rule changes that impact the tariff. So I will be making an amendment to the tariff just to incorporate a couple of things that came out of the rulemaking earlier this year. I don't see that there are too many things that need to be changed. There's a handful of things, but I also don't see anything that is going to be of any sort of concern or anything like that. So be on the lookout for that as well. That should be coming by the end of the month. That's all I've got. Unless there are any questions, please.
Yeah, I've got a question. In the network improvement plan application, there was supposed to be information included about the single points of failure within the network. That wasn't in the application. I believe Tracy has made several requests for that. Do you know when you're going to be making that information available?
I don't. That's also some of the things I'm working on. There's a number of different exhibits and attachments that we've filed over the last, probably four-ish years or so. So I'm working on updating all those different things. So looking at, where do we have single points in terms of network interoffice diversity, looking at last mile types of things, battery backup, some of those kinds of an updated map. Been working on that. So I don't have a specific time, Joe, but I'm trying to get that information updated so that when we meet here soon, I can at least be sharing some of that, if not all of it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
If I recall correctly, that was filed in the other proceeding where the contingency reports are filed. Remember the proceeding number?
It's hard to hear, Daryl.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, that's much better. Thank you.
If I recalled correctly, that that updated list of is basically the results of your FCC 911 reliability report. Wasn't
Yeah.
that also filed, wasn't that filed in the contingency report miscellaneous proceeding? The old one?
Yes, some of that information was, yes. So certainly the FCC report, but I know that that didn't necessarily have the wire centers that, at least that have, well, we have a list, we've done kind of two things. We've had a list of just sort of all of our wire centers in general that we've provided in the past. And then we've also drilled down to the wire centers that also contain a PSAP. But I don't believe that we included any of that information in the contingency report. We did do the FCC, and that does capture a number of items, but it certainly doesn't capture all of them. So I do intend on updating that list. It hasn't changed too dramatically, but there have been a few changes over the last few years to the wire centers.
Okay. And the proceeding number on that was 18M-0294T. And a number of people did, after your last contingency plan filing, a number of people, including Joe, filed NDAs in that. So they should be able to get copies of what you did file.
Yeah. Any other questions?
One second. 18M-0294. T as in Tom.
Thank you, Daryl, and thank you, Joe. Anything else for the ESP report for Lumen?
I can touch briefly on what Tim had mentioned with the ECATs and give an update on that, a brief one at least. We are making headway as far as getting sites implemented, and we're still needing to get forms returned sooner than later, if possible. And we had a call yesterday, when I say we, Tracy Dillow, myself, and Entrado, to discuss a way that we can potentially help the PSAP community with the forms that are needed. Thank you, Matt, for actually facilitating the GIS portion of that. We still need to get shapefiles, but Entrado is going to put together some type of, I don't know if it's going to be a training or a webinar, but something that will be referenceable and to be able to look at for the forms as far as what's needed to be filled out. So look for that becoming, hopefully this week or next week, we'll get that sent out and we'll send that to Daryl and Jennifer to be able to distribute as needed. And if you have any questions at all as far as how to fill out the forms, challenges you're having with it, or who to contact, Tracy Dillow would be a good point to start with, and I can share her information in the chat.
Thank
That
you,
would be
Jim.
great.
Jeff, this is Holly. Can you repeat what form you were talking about just now?
There's a handful of forms. The one I think that has the biggest challenge is the IP networking form that is needed to facilitate ECATs. That's going to be one that they're going to go over. There's also one that Matt was able to help as far as gathering the GIS data, but they being Entrado, are also needing shape files. So all of that update will be coming out to those who have not responded and turned in those forms, and Tracy Dill will be sending those out.
Jeff, I think you might be referring to the wireless sector routing data, not the GIS files.
Yes, thank you for the correction. Yes.
Yeah, we haven't turned ours in yet because we have a conflict with Delta County on our GIS boundary that we're waiting on our GIS departments to resolve. So we haven't filed yet because of that and some other GIS boundary conflicts, but we're getting there.
Okay.
This is Jennifer. Thank you again, Matt, for helping out with that paperwork, and thank you, Jeff and team and Tracy, for putting together that webinar or referenceable resource. That sounds like it will be very helpful in getting some of our authorities and PSAPs to fill out that paperwork for you. Anything else for Lumen?
This is Tim, not for me.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you both. I'll move on to Intrado. Anything to add for your BESP report or questions for Intrado?
No questions or comments from Intrado. To the extent, Jeff, you need a support from Intrado on the ECAT side, always happy to help.
Thank you. Anyone have questions for Sean with Intrado? Jennifer, moving on. I think Tracy Oldmeyer is representing for Kimberly. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I just wanted to make note of the request that the amended bylaws be considered for vote at this meeting. They were presented back, and the July minutes reflect there'd be a vote at this meeting in September. I have one caveat, I guess, before the decision to vote is made. One change affects the officer positions, and in particular, the chair position. It's clarifying that officer positions, except the secretary, have to be held by voting members. And since Jennifer has moved to staff at the PUC, my suggestion, if these are going to come up for a vote, is that these have a January 1st, 2024 effective date. If you do that, then the November 9th meeting, Jennifer Kirkland would continue in her position as chair without running afoul of any amended bylaws. And then the officer positions are considered at the January 2024 meeting in light of the amended bylaws.
Tracy, I see Matt has a hand up.
Yeah, Tracy, I'm not sure if you're aware, I had been communicating with Kimberly. Last week, I submitted several minor amendments to that draft of the bylaws, and the red line changes were made in the version that's visible to everyone, I believe, on the committee. And then I worked with Holly to provide a new clean version, but I'm not sure this is that because of the date.
Jennifer, Holly, did you have an updated version that you could share?
So this is Holly. The clean version is updated, but if you go into the meeting folder, there is also a redlined version that has everybody's edits if you want to show what the edits are. I don't know if it includes the edits that Tracy's talking about right now, if those are edits from the floor.
So I just was questioning this because of the July date that was on the version we were just looking at a minute ago on screen.
Matt, this is Jennifer. I don't know that we renamed it.
I see.
But
okay.
That's the same document.
Fair enough.
Matt, these latest changes you made, were they substantive or were they just cleaning up language?
They were not really material. They weren't really material. They were making a few things more clear. Because of the nature of the red line and other edits previously imported, it did not inherently list any of my changes as being made by me. So I specifically created sidebar comments in my name for each of those changes that I made last week.
You see them in the document that
yes.
is being displayed, Matt? So that
yes.
is the correct document. Is that?
That's the correct red line. So if we go back to what Jennifer was just showing, it just showed one of my sidebar comments as she was scrolling
Jennifer,
through.
did you want to see the red line or the clean?
I think Joe might want to see, and perhaps others might want to see the red line, which shows my sidebar comments calling out changes. So there was one of them. Yeah, I mean, there's only about 6. It would be pretty easy to scroll from the top to the bottom. There's one, yeah. This is probably the most significant sidebar comment.
So I don't know, Matt, are you asking this vote to be delayed? I unclear on to what you're
No,
asking.
I'm not asking anything. I'm pointing out these changes since they weren't brought up in the initial discussion a few minutes ago to make sure that all of the voting members are aware of them. And then perhaps by scanning through them here quickly, we can then take action and vote on these today.
Okay, so going back to Holly's question, I think it was Holly's question, that last paragraph there, Holly, under the approved. That would be the effective date needs to be inserted there into that paragraph, and then Jody Slate would not be the chair, Jennifer Kirkland would still be the chair. And then at the very top of page 1, there's an effective date that would need to be completed. So just depends on timing, but it only makes sense not to change the chair position before the end of the year.
You could then delete there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, make it green. There you go.
Tracy, this is Carl. I have a question on the voting members. It says must be employed, otherwise acting a representative. That would also include alternates, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Jennifer, any further discussion? Thank you all. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve new bylaws as written in red line.
This is Matt, so moved.
Carl Stevens seconds.
Okay, we have a motion from Matt Gage and a second from Carl Stevens. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries, and I want to thank the Bylaws Committee for working on that. It's been a while since we updated the bylaws, so thank you for your work on that, and thank you for everyone who contributed. Okay, let me get back to the standing report. Next up, we've got Legislative Committee, which has certainly been active. So I will scroll through here and throw it over to Jackie if anyone has any questions for Jackie, or if Jackie would like to highlight anything.
I just wanted to thank everybody for all their work that they've been doing. The CPAP comments we did in about 3 weeks and had extra meetings and had a lot of participation. And I had really great discussions with a lot of people on that committee, and I really appreciate the feedback and the work on those. And then the other thing I'd like to point out is we do post notes if you miss a meeting or want to catch up. And we also have a link to all the current legislative initiative drafts. If you need that, just let me know. And I'm open to any questions you might have.
Jackie, Jennifer, any questions for Jackie? Jackie? Did we have Kelly Bowman on the call? Okay. Cheryl is without her Cheryl as she said in an email, so I'm going to share for her. She would like for us to mention LIDA's new alert capabilities. They have partnered with DeafLink to provide accessible alerts when they send out alerts to the public. I'm going to copy and paste what Cheryl had put into the chat so everybody can read it. And there are some links to examples of alerts that are accessible to all. So, and Cheryl is participating by chat. So if you have any questions for Cheryl, please unmute and speak, and then Cheryl will answer in chat.
I'll also point out that Holly is the vice
Hold
chair.
on, you have to wait. Now you can.
Okay. I thought I was projecting enough that would reach the mic. I just want to point out that Holly is also the vice chair of that committee, so she can also potentially answer questions.
Okay, hearing none, thank you, Holly and Cheryl. And moving on to Outage Committee, does anyone have any questions for Tina or Daryl? Hearing none, prepaid and collections, Jackie again.
I don't have any updates, and I just want to thank the CCOA for looking at our current initiative on seeing if they can handle it.
Jackie, any questions for Jackie? Okay, moving on for Reports Committee, any questions for Daryl? If you ever need any kind of paper or publication reviewed for accuracy and clarity, I'm volunteering Matt Gage. Moving on.
I will say we will refer you to Matt Gage, who will tell you his hourly rate.
I like that better.
All right, moving on to EZNet Users Group and Kathy. Any questions for Kathy? Or Kathy, do you have anything to highlight? There you go.
Thank you. Nothing to highlight. The only thing that I would like to say in regards to the work that Matt did for the wireless routing, I just wanted to say thank you very much. I saw all the emails and all the effort that he put into it, and it's very much appreciated. So thank you, Matt.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing to learn that there are, what was it we talked about yesterday? 120,871 cell tower antenna sectors in the state. But since we're talking about that, I would advise everyone here, just as I did yesterday, that this was just to help you get started in ECATS with your wireless routing analysis module, but it is incumbent upon you to verify that that data is correct, and then going forward, it will be on you to maintain any adds, changes, or deletes to those wireless sector data for your ECATS.
Hey, Matt, once ECATS is deployed to everybody, do you think we need to have a webinar on how to do that?
I wouldn't be surprised if that's perhaps in the works already from the Intrado team. And I believe Intrado also might have some web training that's available for that. I'm not opposed to it, but I think that's really more in the vendor's ballpark to provide that.
That could be a topic for a future EZNet Users Group meeting as well, as talking about training following deployment.
And lunch and learn, maybe?
Yeah, that's a topic.
Not a bad idea, though, Joe.
You almost got volunteered for something else, Matt, but we spared you.
I'm working on it.
All right, this is Jennifer. Moving on to GIS Committee, which is also Matt.
Hey, so No direct GIS committee activities, but there was a little bit of behind the scenes work to obtain a budgetary quote from a 911 GIS data services vendor in support of the legislative committee's CPAP proceeding comments that were filed.
Thank you for doing that work as well. Questions for Matt? Okay, moving on. We've got Colorado Public Safety Broadband update. Do we have Kristen or someone from that program on the phone to answer questions? Okay, moving on. PSCS report, Deanie. Anybody have questions for Deanie, or Deanie, do you have anything to highlight? Deanie's shaking your head no. Okay. Any questions for Deanie? Moving on to the SWIC update. Amanda, I think I saw you on the call, and do you have anything to highlight, or do you have any, does anyone have any questions for Amanda?
I have nothing to highlight, but I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Amanda. Hearing none, moving on to CFPC. Connie, anything to highlight or any questions for Connie?
I have nothing to highlight other than they have accepted my request for continuing to represent this community to the CFC, and that'll be decided next month's meeting.
Any questions? Connie, anything to highlight or questions for Connie about the resource center?
I have nothing to highlight.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, Rapid SOS. Do we have Karen on the line? Karen, anything to update or highlight or any questions for Karen?
Jennifer, I'm not positive if Karen's on the line, but I would like to super quick highlight our 2-day virtual event, November 1st and 2nd for Rapid SOS Ready. Tons of information, great speakers, a lot of 911 stuff from across the globe that we'd love for you and your dispatch centers to pop in and check out.
I have a question.
Sam?
I'm
Go
here.
ahead, Chelsea.
Hi, our Rapid SOS doesn't seem to be picking up any of the 911s on any of our dispatchers stations. Is there something we can do to fix that, or do I need to call the help desk?
Can you advise what 911 center you're referring to?
We are in Lake County, Colorado, Leadville, Colorado.
Okay, can you get with me offline and we can do some troubleshooting?
Yeah, what's your contact?
I'll drop it in the chat.
Thank you.
Chelsea, and thank you, Sam. Moving on to CCOA. Anything to highlight or questions for CCOA for Tracy? Okay. Thank you. That concludes the standing report. Go ahead, Daryl.
Go back a little bit. Cheryl just texted me and asked me to let everyone know that the SEMA conference in the spring is still looking for speakers. It's in February, and that if you are interested in speaking at the SEMA conference, you should contact Cheryl.
Jennifer, thank you, Daryl and Cheryl. I'm going to press through, since we're almost through the agenda, although lunch is here for those of you who are missing out, not in the room. Do we have any old business that did not make it onto the agenda? Any new business? Okay, so under open discussion, FEMA is conducting their wireless emergency alert test on October 4th at noon. My guess is that if you don't get questions about it from your community beforehand, you'll probably get some calls after. So just be aware that that's happening. If you have not completed the Authority Boundary Mapping Project survey, please do so ASAP. We're down to, I think, only 10 authorities that still need to respond. So if you have any questions about that, please feel free to contact me. And I wanted to, oh, Jackie, did you have a question? There you go.
Yes, I do, but it's not related to this. I just thought of it, so.
Want to go back?
I do. I wanted to ask, because the Legislative Committee worked on last year supporting a study for language, emergency notifications, and that kind of thing. And that study was approved by the legislation, but I hadn't heard back if anyone in the community, the PSAP community, was contacted to participate in that study that is due in January. And so I was hoping to get any feedback from anyone, if they've heard from anyone conducting the study to our language interpretations on our emergency notifications.
So this is Jennifer. Thanks for asking the question, and Cheryl's got something to add as well. I'll kick it off. The CU Natural Hazards team, I'm sure it's more formal than what I just said, is conducting that study. They did just kick it off and have reached out, and Daryl and I had a very productive conversation with them about kicking off that study. I think Cheryl is typing an update into the chat while we're talking here, because I know she had a conversation with the study team as well. We offered to help connect them with the PSAP community. They are in the process of putting together a survey as part of that study, and I would imagine that we would help them distribute that as well. So that is kicked off, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yep, and let me see what Cheryl has to say. I'm sure Daryl has something else to add. Here you go.
I just wanted to give the name. It's the University of Colorado's Natural Hazards Center. We also suggested to them very strongly that they do a sit-in at a PSAP. Oddly enough, even though it's the University of Colorado, none of the people involved are in Colorado. But we did suggest to them that they could contact local, one was in St. Louis or near St. Louis. Sitting in a 911 center there will still help inform them what the processes are like in a call center. So we suggested to them that they do that, but they are working on a survey that will help get out.
Undergrads or grad students?
They're actually doctoral. Most of them have PhD already. There's one grad student and one research assistant that's working on the project.
Yeah, and one was a postdoc.
And this is Jackie. I know Jason, who used to be in Routt County, works in the St. Louis area, PSAP there.
Mm-hmm. He's the one I was thinking of. Cheryl also conducted a meeting with them from the Accessibility Committee chair viewpoint, and has put into chat to email her if you have any questions for Cheryl on that. Thank you for the question.
And if you, because it's been a little bit, I would recommend looking up House Bill 23-1237, which is the bill that created this, because there are 7 different topic areas that the report that they're supposed to produce is supposed to cover. So thinking about some of those topic areas so that when they do reach out to you with the survey, you'll have some answers for them.
Daryl, this is Jennifer. Any other questions on the study? Thank you, Cheryl. I'll hang on for your typing. Okay. while Cheryl is typing, I will give the quick Apple update. Daryl and I had a follow-up meeting with the FCC representatives yesterday that are working on the Apple crash notifications. We had asked for examples of the crash notifications that play the recording very loudly and very rapidly, which makes it very hard to call take on those calls. And they took our concerns to Apple and are working with Apple. I think the short answer is that Apple doesn't have a fix yet, but is very aware of the challenges that that recording presents in the call-taking environment. The FCC gave us an email address and suggested that the more Apple hears of challenges with crash notifications, including recordings, the more it might highlight the challenge that these calls present to the PSAP. But I got the impression they didn't want us to give out the email.
I thought they did.
Well, their email said state 911 coordinators can email Apple at.
Oh.
So, I guess the long and short of that is if you have examples of Apple crash notifications that continue to be problematic for your PSAP, if you will send them to me, I will forward them on to Apple for you. Like Carl has a question.
Carl, was it Trey? Because I've talked to him about a couple things, and he's willing to either take, good news or bad news on stuff like this as well.
This is Jennifer. They didn't say who at Apple they're working with. That would be my guess as well, but they didn't specify who. They did say that Apple is very in tune or attuned to the fact that this is a problem, and they're trying actively to work on it, but they didn't have a timeline. Did you have anything to add?
Just that in addition to the recordings and the problems with the recording or the automated emails, the automated voice on the phone calls, we also talked to them about the false alarm problem, especially during ski season. And again, they are aware of it and didn't have a solution at this time, but we did make sure that that topic didn't get dropped as part of the conversation with the FCC.
This is Jennifer. So that is the update for Apple. Cheryl has put in the chat about they're going to have Salama LaForce talk about the WIA test at the Equal Access meeting on September 28th, so please join for that meeting. And I will throw it open to anybody who has anything else for open discussion or questions. Okay, well, I want to thank everyone again. I want to thank Denver and Andrew for connecting us with Jacqueline Toomey and Access Fleet for our presentation, so thank you. I'd like to thank El Paso Teller 911 Authority for hosting and for the excellent IT support. Looks like, did you have something to, okay. Daryl, looks like he has something he wants to add.
Well, this is the first task force meeting that I haven't run the webcast on in probably 3 years, so I want to thank Jennifer for being here and doing that job. Thank you.
I am happy to be doing that job, so.
You're doing such a wonderful job of it, too.
Oh, man. You guys all have a fantastic week, and have a great lunch. For those of you in Zoom land, we are going to have a great lunch here provided by the authorities. So thank you, everybody, and please join us for the October Lunch and Learn, and visit our webpage for the next meetings coming up for the committees. Have a great week, everybody.
Take care, everyone.